Good evening. Welcome in. We're officially getting started in about 8 minutes, but I always get in here a little early to give some time for the room to fill up a little bit. We are just getting started. In fact, I'm not officially starting for another 7 minutes, so you're way ahead of time. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I tend to start them. I start them at 6 o'clock, top of the hour. Okay, I realize it's not 6 o'clock probably where you're at, but at the top of the hour, I start my kind of official recap of what I'm going to talk about, what's on my mind today. And then, but I usually hang out for about 6 minutes or so, or 7 minutes, or up to 10 minutes ahead of time. Yeah. So we're just chilling for a bit. Seeing who pops in, seeing who says hi, see if there's any early questions or any comments or any things that anybody would like me to address. I'm on the West Coast. I'm on the West Coast of the United States. You did catch my live today, so thank you very much. That's awesome. You made it in time, and if you can't stay for the whole thing or whatever, I do post these on YouTube and on our website, devilsadvocates.info. So I always post it about a couple hours after the event. I got a lot of Luigi thoughts, so we will cover all the Luigi thoughts. And if you have any particular questions or things you want me to address, even now would be a good time to let me know, because I'll go into my kind of official monologue, if you will, at the beginning of the top of the hour, and then if you've got some questions that weren't on my list to talk about tonight, I will do that. Ooh, my gosh, almost 3 o'clock in the morning there. I don't know what your sleep schedule is, but that would be on the little back end for me. So yeah, again, devilsadvocates.info is our official website. I always link to our YouTube channel and latest YouTube videos straight away on the front page. So if you can't find us easily on YouTube itself, you could go to devilsadvocates.info, which hopefully would be relatively easy to find, and then our latest videos will be posted right there. Our latest YouTube videos will be posted on the front page. So you're able to find a recording of this. So if you nod off or fall asleep because I'm boring, you will be able to catch up later and hopefully slap yourself awake when the time comes. About 5 more minutes and I'll get into the official thing. But like I said, if you have some comments or some questions, you'd specifically, your overall thoughts on today's hearing. We are going to talk about my overall thoughts on today's hearing. That is the top of the agenda for me. So yes, I will be covering that at the top of the hour in 5 minutes. And if there's anything specific about it, if you saw today's press briefing, then and you want me to address a specific thing, you can go ahead and mention that, and it may be something I'm already planning on addressing, or you can just wait until I give you my review of the press hearing, the shackles and the vest were way too much. We'll talk about that for sure in like 4 minutes. Topic of search and seizure will be definitely on my agenda to talk about in 4 minutes as well. So good. I'm glad I'm hitting the topics that you also would like to talk about. I plan on those things. Thanks for the likes, by the way. Thank you so much for getting us a good start on the evening. No DP yet. Oh, why am I blanking on DP? Let's see, how long until and how many times can the state push back the date or not get discovery to Karen? Yeah, that's something we're going to talk about as well. Hopefully, I don't think I have that as a bullet point, but it's something on my mind, so hopefully I will catch that as well. Definitely all those topics that have been brought up so far, we are going to talk about. All right, about 3 more minutes and we'll get into an official, my thoughts, my analysis, which I could cover pretty quickly, I'm imagining. I have a half a page of notes. I also will talk briefly about some Brian Koberger stuff, but the main topic today, of course, is Luigi. The only reason I'm a little hesitant to make it the only topic today is the last 2 lives that I've done, I think, have been 100%, maybe even last 3 lives have been 100% Luigi. We also cover the Idaho 4 Brian Koberger thing. So and there has been some kind of newish information about that. So that is certainly we are able to talk about during this hour. If I don't have a hot and heavy conversation going and or a guest join me on the mic, I tend to wrap up in about 45 minutes to an hour. If we get somebody on here and the conversation turns hot and it goes unexpected directions, I don't necessarily have a timeline. 2 hours, though, tends to be about where I start losing my voice. So just because I feel like I have to kind of shout a little loud, and maybe it's the microphone on my phone's not the best or whatnot. So that's interesting about the live notifications. I published so that supposedly they announce the lives on every one of my videos. So if you even watched any of my videos, I made three announcements about the case today, about the hearing, and all of those should have been also advertising the live, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how that works exactly. Just Curious is here. Hopefully I can get her to get on the mic with me tonight. I like talking to Just Curious on camera. So when I get through my monologue, if she's still around, maybe she'll join me. I think the judge is already being biased in Luigi's case or in Brian Kohberger's case. You're probably talking Luigi's case, but is the judge going to be the same for the trial? So there's 3 different trials and different judges. So for the state case, I'm not 100% sure. It should be the same judge, but there were some questions about the judge in the state case that I don't know if have been addressed, or maybe it's just not a concern. I don't know. About 1 minute, and I'll get into my official monologue, if you will, the things that are on my mind, and then we'll open up for discussion, questions, or if somebody wants to take the mic with me and have a back and forth where it's a little bit more interactive than just me talking the entire time, I would be more than happy to welcome that open, frank discussion. Again, all right, it's about 6 o'clock. So let's get into a little bit of the official stuff. What they did to him today was well. Okay, so the big news, of course. So first of all, let me introduce a little bit about the channel and the news and what we follow. So Devil's Advocate's TikTok platform is designed to talk about true crime stories that are of interest to us. Generally speaking, we like to play devil's advocates for the convicted, basically asking the question, if it's so cut and dry that this is the person who did it, then how do you explain this? How do you explain that? How do you explain this? And we play the devil's advocate oftentimes for the accused. And because I particularly have a general just distrust for law enforcement and the legal system and officials and mainstream media. And so I tend to become a bit of a critic or critical thinker and question mainstream media when they have a narrative they want to push and they're gung-ho to convict a person and make it look like there's no question that they're guilty. The more they do that shit, the more I start to ask more questions. Why are you so eager to get this person convicted? What is the vested interest that you have on making sure that the narrative you want to tell America is correct? So we focus a lot on those kind of stories. The 2 main stories that are trending for us right now are, and by us, me and my partner, we're a co-partnership in this TikTok account, although he doesn't really get on much at all. But he's my backhand guy, creates video content, website content, kind of the more of the visual look kind of stuff. And I'm more of the main talking head. I'm sure we could have gotten a much better talking head, but I'm your pick. So it is what it is. So we covered the Brian Kohberger, Idaho 4 murders. We happen to live, my partner and I, close by to Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington, where those events happened. So that was kind of a story of interest to us. But of course, the Luigi Mangione story is the story that actually caught our main attention when we first started this. We actually went back and readdressed the Kohberger story after it had been sitting on the shelves for a couple years doing nothing. And now that his trial is starting to get some attention again, we decided to pick that back up because it always left us a lot of open questions. So let's talk about what happened today. So today, New York State had a hearing for the state case against Luigi Mangione. For those who aren't familiar, but I'm sure if you're here, you are familiar, so I'll try to be brief. Luigi Mangione is accused and being charged in 3 different courts around the shooting of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare in New York on December 4th, was it now? Anyways, and so Luigi Mangione is in custody, in federal custody as the lone gunman at this point. There is a state trial, a federal trial, and a trial in Pennsylvania that Luigi Mangione is facing. His attorney in Pennsylvania is Thomas Dickey. I had originally believed that Karen Agnifilo took that over as well. However, the website, which is officially put on by the lawyers for Luigi Mangione, which is LuigiMangione.com is the official website set up by the attorneys, and they do list Thomas Dickey as the primary attorney in Pennsylvania. So today I made a mistake and told somebody that I thought that Karen was also representing him in Pennsylvania. She did make a statement to the press that she was going to be fighting them in all 3 courts. So I believe that Karen Agnifilo is involved with the Pennsylvania state. However, Thomas Dickey may be listed as the attorney on point, the attorney of record, whereas I'm sure Karen Agnifilo is providing support for that and maybe even taking the lead function. I don't know, but on their website, they do list Thomas Dickey still as the Pennsylvania case. So today the state brought a hearing forward for Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione was indeed in court. They did not allow cameras in the courtroom. This was one of the things that Karen Agnifilo addressed to the press after Luigi left the courtroom. So there was a brief moment when people saw a picture, a little bit of video, maybe 3 seconds of Luigi walking with a bulletproof vest on, surrounded by officers, with shackles on, and being walked in and out of the courthouse. That was all people got to see of Luigi Mangione. Karen Agnifilo gave a press conference afterwards, and one of the first things that she stated was that she originally intended to not make a press conference. The legal defense had requested cameras be made available for that hearing. She was denied that request, and because she was denied the request for the public to see what's going on, she decided that she would come out and tell you exactly what she said in court. She also agreed that she would put up the transcript of what she read in court or what she presented in court to the website. I was hopeful that by the time that this live happened, that official transcript would be released. I don't believe that it has. I have looked on their website. I refreshed it just before coming on here tonight to see the statements. The no updated statement has been made since the 4th, so I don't believe that she's put up the statement that she said that she was going to post yet. However, fortunately for me, I took pretty good notes, and so I've got a pretty good handle on what she did say and what she didn't say. But I want to be careful because what I really wanted to do is double check my wording and make sure I didn't get anything wrong. So forgive me when I tell you that I anticipated being able to read this word for word from her and catch the exact wording. But that statement has not been made public yet like they were saying that they were going to do. I want to give you a little bit of explanation about how this went down for me. I knew the court hearing was going today. By the way, I don't know if I want to get into this or not, but we've got an hour, so I will talk about it. A certain individual who goes on TikTok a lot and claims to be a single point of contact between all of us and Luigi and Karen Agnifilo's office posted that he was told by Karen directly that the 9 a.m. start time for the court appearance had been changed to 2:15. It did end up being that it was aired at 2:15. However, I believe this was also posted on her website. So the question becomes, did this individual get... There's no way in hell I believe that Karen Agnifilo reached out personally to this person to tell them and them only, and plus 2 others, because the screenshot they showed was plus 2 others, that they were changing the trial date and just this guy gets to know. I do not believe that happened, but it's interesting. If you have any insight on that, I'm really interested. It was interesting to see that they did originally list the time at 9 a.m., then it moved to 2:15. I'm not picking on David, No, it wasn't. It wasn't David. If you're talking about David Betrus, yeah, I was talking about Jason. Yes, talking about Jason. All right, let's move on to my thoughts. What I thought was interesting, though, is as I was watching the coverage, trying to find the best place to watch, I was checking CNN, Fox, Court TV, and YouTube, and TikTok to some extent. What I thought was interesting, out of all of those stations that I was watching, CNN was the only one that was constantly saying, coming up soon, Luigi Mangione is about to appear in court. And they were showing a fixed camera. I should have watched CNBC. Anyways, they had a fixed camera on a certain place of the courtroom doors where a couple of officers were standing, presumably where we were going to see attorneys coming and going, or Luigi coming and going. But it was TikTok that I found a streaming video from inside the hallway where supporters of Luigi were lining up. People were trying to get in to see the court case. Yeah, I saw a 4-second clip of him as well. CNN teased it over and over. Coming up, coming up, coming up. When all was said and done, I was on YouTube when it was clear that there was a stream set up on YouTube where the press cameras were. And indeed, I watched Karen walk out of the courthouse, step up to the cameras, do her full presentation, while CNN was still teasing that coming up they're going to talk about it, and airing every other piece of news that they could think of, and had never even got to it. So I had to end up muting CNN and listening to the live feed off of the YouTube feed. It's funny where we get our news nowadays. It's not from necessarily mainstream media, but that's an aside. I did find it interesting, however, as a point of talk before I get in. I know, like, some of you that didn't get to see the announcement or want to hear my opinions are chomping at the bit, but I wanted to give a couple more things. I thought it was interesting that a spokesman on CNN brought up jury nullification again in the Luigi Mangione case. So it's so weird to me to hear mainstream media bringing up the concept of jury nullification, which is one of those gray areas that is kind of shunned in the legal profession, in the sense that it's supposed to be understood by juries that they have the ability to render a not guilty verdict. Even if a person is guilty, they can choose to say not guilty. This is what some call jury nullification, which is, yeah, he did it, but no, we're not going to convict. And it was weird to hear CNN talk about that as well. So for what it's worth, there we have that. So Karen Agnifilo came out of the courthouse after Luigi left, came up to the thing and basically stated what I said before, that she had requested cameras be made available in the courtroom. By the way, I'm going to have a hard time reading the comments while I'm also reading my notes. So when we get done with my notes, please re-ask your question if I didn't catch it or address it. So she came up and said that she was going to present what happened. A lot of what she said was, in my opinion, stunners. This is not overstating what she stated. One of the first things that she pointed out was how Luigi Mangione, the way that he's being treated, is something that she hasn't seen before, which is that Luigi Mangione remains in federal custody, even though the state of New York gets to present their case against him first, and he's also facing charges in Pennsylvania. And so she was indicating that the way that the federal government is handling Luigi Mangione is making it hard for them to even represent their client. They make it hard for her to see her client. They keep him in shackles, moving around from place to place, and they tell him where he can and can't appear, even though the state case goes first, and he's got the Pennsylvania charges to go. And they cannot properly represent their client because the federal government is keeping Luigi Mangione in custody and basically getting in the way of them presenting a proper legal defense in the state case and the Pennsylvania case. That's a big problem, in my opinion. Now, maybe I said that wrong. If somebody thinks that I'm misinterpreting what Karen said, let me know. But that's what I got from what Karen said, was that the fact that the federal government is continuing to keep Luigi Mangione in custody while he's facing state charges and Pennsylvania charges, it's making it very difficult for them to even talk to their client, much less get him where he needs to be, because they couldn't move him without permission of the federal government. The federal government gets to decide where Luigi gets to go and where he gets to be seen because they're keeping him in custody. So we talked about that. there was another stunner, in my opinion, where I don't believe that I knew about the HBO special. So I've seen a special on Luigi done by the New York Post. I've seen a special done on Luigi by 2020, I believe. I've seen a special done on Luigi by TMZ now. And I've seen a special done on Luigi by Investigation Discovery Channel. If I'm not correct, that's 4 different... HBO was the ID Discovery. Okay. So I thought she was saying there was another one. Thank goodness that got a little confusing, because she was like, I was like, when what she said was, the stunner that was, and it was funny because I did 2 reviews of the Investigation Discovery Channel documentary. First was an hour or so of me talking about my initial first takes, and then I did a deep dive on it for about 2 hours. And one of the things I pointed out was, in order for us to discuss what that show presented, we had to make some assumptions. We have to assume that the things that they say Luigi wrote, that he wrote. What was interesting was, as she pointed out, and it makes sense because this is exactly what Investigation Discovery did, is they used a voice actor to read words of Luigi Mangione as if we're hearing Luigi. They made it clear it was an actor. They didn't say it was Luigi. But the point being is they used a voice actor to basically read the thoughts of Luigi Mangione from the writings of Mr. Cactus, from Reddit, from his notebook, from his alleged letter to the feds. And one of the things that Karen Agnifilo pointed out is that they're literally reading words allegedly being discussed with the media that the prosecution has not even turned over in discovery, meaning that even Luigi's own defense hasn't seen the very documents that they're going to the press with and doing documentaries with and talking about how this is what Luigi wrote and this is what the evidence we have against him is, when they haven't even presented that in discovery to the defense team itself. That's bullshit, in my opinion. Unless I missed what she said, she literally said, it is disgusting that they are having documentaries come out talking about what Luigi supposedly said when that has not even been formally presented in discovery yet. She hasn't even been presented. Now, I would argue she's seen it. I would guarantee you that she's probably seen it. She's got people working for her that are digging up everything people are saying. But the fact that formally the prosecution has not turned over the documents such as the letter to the feds or the spiral notebook that supposedly exists, and yet we're being read on documentaries as if law enforcement has already shared these documents with the media and now we can talk about them and read them word for word. That's a problem. Now, the Mr. Cactus thing, that's a Reddit thing, right? So that's out there. But the notebook, the letter to the feds, that should be stuff that's in custody of law enforcement. And if media is reading it and doing documentaries, reading from discovery items that the defense has not been presented, that's a problem, in my opinion. Right? That blew my mind. I also want to say, while I don't want to read too much into this because of the way that Karen also couched her statement. But here's my interpretation of what Karen Agnifilo said about the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I believe she said, and again, I wanted to see this word for word to make sure I got the wording right. I believe she said she still has not seen body cam footage of the arrest. She still has not seen any camera footage of the arrest, and that there are questions on the part of Luigi's defense team about whether or not the arrest and the seizure was done without proper warrants. And that she's got questions about that and has reason to believe it was not done properly with proper warrants. Now, I believe she softened that position slightly, saying, I'm not sure that it wasn't done properly. What I'm saying is we have reason to believe it wasn't done properly, but we don't know because we're not allowed to even see the body cam footage or any footage of that event and review the documents because it hasn't been turned over in discovery. So that was huge. That was huge to me, because if you are a Luigi supporter in any way, shape, or form, that is the thing that starts the domino effect. If the original information, if the original reason why he was basically remanded into New York custody and extradited to New York, it was because of what was found in his possession in Alterno, Pennsylvania, and that was obtained without a search warrant and without proper due course of the law. You have no reason then to ship him to New York and put him on trial. All that has to go out the window. That would be a major F up on law enforcement's point of epic proportions. Now, do I think that any judge is going to toss it out no matter if they did that or not? No. But wow. The fact that to me, the fact that Karen Agnifilo seemed to indicate that there is reason to believe it may not have been with proper search warrants, but she can't confirm that it wasn't done properly because she still hasn't seen body cam footage or whatever. How the hell is that not something that we have already gotten in discovery? I also want to point out a slight correction on the wording that I think Karen used. I have pointed out many times before that when the federal case has asked for more time and they've postponed the deadline for coming up with the official indictment for the federal government, that the defense could deny that, right? The defense can say, no, you have a deadline. He has a right to a speedy trial. You need to deliver the goods on time. And I even questioned why it would be that his defense team would not ask the prosecution to deliver on time. Because again, I want to point out, this was a key matter in the O.J. Simpson trial, and we know how that went decades ago, right? O.J. Simpson's lawyers said, you need to provide a speedy trial and you need to have it immediately, because they knew if they forced the prosecution to come up with it quickly, they would make more mistakes. It behooves the defense to force the prosecution to act quickly because mistakes get made when you're in a rush. So I always wondered why it was that Karen Agnifilo would, quote unquote, allow the prosecution to have more time. Now, what I pointed out in other videos is that she could say no. As his defense, they could say he has a right to a speedy trial. You had a deadline. You need to make that deadline or provide really good reason why you won't make the deadline. And instead, Karen gave them more time. And this was something that Karen actually stated from the pulpit. I'm going to give you my pulpit from the cameras. My father was a pastor, so everything's from the pulpit when you get up in front. Anyway, so what she stated from the camera is that the prosecution has repeatedly asked for more time, and we have allowed that. So it was interesting because before people were correcting me, well, Karen must need more time too. Not necessarily, because the wording that I heard today from Karen was, the prosecution has asked for more time and we have allowed it. However, we're still waiting for full discovery. The posturing that I got from Karen Agnifilo today was that she is ready to go and she's graciously allowing the federal government and the state to get their shit together, but let's get this done. You've had more than enough time. So it's an interesting tactic because it does not sound to me from the take that I got from Karen today that it's mutual, that she also wanted more time. Now, maybe she did. Maybe behind the scenes, she also wanted more time, and so she's just trying to make it look bad for the defense. All that's possible. But the takeaway I got was Karen was like, we still have not been given full discovery. We are waiting for discovery. It's amazing what we're still waiting for. And they ask for more time, and we keep giving them more time. But now you're going to go on and you're going to make documentaries quoting Luigi word for word on shit that you haven't even turned over in discovery? That's disgusting. And I have to agree. So I'm reading a lot into what she said. But that's what I took from that. The bulletproof vest thing came up. A lot of people were really upset about Luigi wearing a bulletproof vest. I want to point out as well that the bulletproof vest is just as much for his protection. As I pointed out, the connection to Lee Harvey Oswald, the lone gunman's theory, and I won't go long on this, but I want you to understand, if you're not paying attention, for those of you who are not paying attention, In America, us old farts like us have long, the majority of Americans do not believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman who killed John F. Kennedy. We've questioned, over 60% of Americans, I believe was the last quote, don't believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman. In fact, most Americans, the majority of Americans, feel the government itself was involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Only recently have documents now started to become unsealed about the case of John F. Kennedy. And one of the early teasers that has been given to us already was, while I can't tell you everything that's going on, we can confirm now there was more than one shooter. Are you kidding me? After all this time, 70 years, whatever, you're going to finally admit that there was more than one shooter? The American people knew there was more than one shooter for a long time. This pisses me off to no extent. But anyways, what happened to Lee Harvey Oswald before he went on trial as the lone gunman? Somebody with cancer or something like that, I forgot, Jack Ruby, who shot and killed Lee Harvey Oswald on the steps of the courthouse before Lee Harvey Oswald could have his day in court, gunned him down so he would not be able to testify about any inaccuracies in the statement that he was the lone gunman. And the person who shot and killed him was basically dying anyways of a terminal illness. And so when that kind of shit happens, and the government now admits to you that there was more than one shooter, the story you've been told over and over and over by your government was that it was a lone gunman and the magic bullet went through his head, through a wrist of somebody else and bounced around 47 different ways, but it was one bullet. And we all knew that was bullshit and none of it made sense. No. We had a commission. We had a whole investigation from Congress, and they concluded it's one gunman. Now, after nobody gives a shit anymore, they're like, you're right, it wasn't a lone gunman. And somebody did just assassinate Lee Harvey Oswald before the trial, so he wouldn't be able to talk about it. So when you see Luigi Mangione being presented as the lone shooter in the United Healthcare situation, damn right, maybe he should have a bulletproof vest on him, because who knows if somebody's going to step up and try and assassinate him before he goes to court and says something differently and presents anything different than the official story, which is it's one guy, we got our guy, and somebody might want to take him out before he tells his side of the story. So I agree that to some extent, people think it looks bad for Luigi to be in shackles and a bulletproof vest, but it's just as much for his protection, because Americans aren't going to be too thrilled if we let another Jack Ruby step up and shoot Luigi in the head while he's about to go on trial and bare everyone's soul to the whole country. So we will lose our minds if that happens while the federal government is in control. Because one thing that was clear from Karen Agnifilo is that the United States government, the federal government, is the one that's protecting Luigi Mangione and deciding where he goes at all times. So if they let him get assassinated or killed while he's in their custody, there's going to be a shitstorm to pay. So just consider the whole bulletproof vest thing may not all be for the purpose of making Luigi look bad, but more for the protection of the federal government, who doesn't want this guy to get killed and have everybody say, you guys set him up to get him killed. Let me see if I got any last minute points before we get into open mic. I've talked for about a half hour. We have a record number tonight for my live, so I want to express my appreciation before I finish my monologue. Typically, we run on my following, somewhere between 20 and 40 people. We've got a good 68 people. We've hit 70 a couple times. So thank you so much for that tonight. There was another moment. Did you hear? There's another thought on my mind. There was another thing during the CNN coverage while I was waiting for the Luigi coverage, that talked about a doctor. Did you guys hear about this? The doctor who went viral with a video about how she was in the middle of surgery when United Healthcare allegedly called up and was going to call off covering the surgery for the person that she was in surgery for. And she literally scrubbed out of surgery while her patient was unconscious on the operating table to go make the phone call to United Healthcare and argue about whether or not they're going to cover that surgery that she was in the middle of. Now, United Healthcare has demanded this doctor take that video down, because nowhere did they say that they expected her to scrub out of surgery and go take the phone call. Her argument was, that's how the fucking insurance companies work. if they deny the claim, even in the middle, if they call you, the doctor, to talk to you about it and you're not available, they just automatically reject. Sorry, we tried to reach out to you, you reject. They don't take the hey, I'm in the middle of surgery. Not too bad. We reached out to you when you were there to talk to our guy and explain why you need to cover this. You didn't answer the phone. Rejected. So she, knowing she had a little bit of time, scrubbed out of surgery. She was in the operating room ready to perform the operation and scrubbed out to go talk to United Healthcare. She posted it online and shitstorm ensued. Like, what the hell? How bad is our system? And she gave a lot of examples of how bad our system is, how bad the healthcare system is. It is insane. But again, now there's this fight between this doctor and other doctors who then went on record and said, yeah, that kind of shit happens to me too. And that kind of shit happens to me too. Other doctors came out after this doctor made this video. And so there was a special segment on CNN before Luigi Mangione came on talking about how doctors are getting furious at United Healthcare, calling up and trying to deny shit in the middle of surgeries, which again, United Healthcare is saying, that's bullshit. We weren't calling to argue with the surgeon in the middle of surgery. Nobody asked her to scrub out. We asked to talk to one of her assistants. You guys are blowing out of proportion, and we demand that she take that video down because she's making us look bad. Yeah, no, you're making you look bad. Anyways, other points. I started to look into the book, Delay, Deny, Defend, that goes along with the bullet casings that Luigi Mangione allegedly, because we don't know that it was Luigi Mangione, we don't know that for sure, but the shooter allegedly wrote in a Sharpie, Delay, Deny, Depose, which is similar to the book title, Delay, Deny, Defend. So I started to look into that book. By the way, as a reminder, I'm starting a book club and a movie club for those who are interested in reading some books that appear to be recommended reading, either by Luigi off of his Goodreads, talking about the first book that I think that we're going to discuss as a group for those who are interested in getting involved. I've got a Discord channel, and I'm trying to organize now a book reading of An American Sickness, I think is what it's called, by Elizabeth Rosenthal. That'll be the first book that we're probably going to look into. But in the meantime, I started to read Delay, Deny, Defend, and it's mostly about the auto insurance industry. But it had some interesting points that relate to healthcare. And one of the ways it was just talking about, it was $1 trillion industry and how they take in like $400 billion in premiums, but pay out $200 billion in actual claims, meaning that even in the auto insurance industry, they're pocketing $200 and something million more than they pay out. And if they can increase those odds and deny more stuff, they get to pocket more of your premiums and pay out less. I started to read a little bit of An American Sickness by Rosenthal, but I want to do that as an official book club reading. So I invite all of you to go ahead and sign up with me in one way or another. Look for my Discord channel. Find us there. We're going to be starting that book reading soon. There's a quote or two that I just want to share as a teaser before I go live with questions. One of the things, I think it was made in An American Sickness, the book review that I want to review, was how screwed up our healthcare system is in America. This is an example they gave. In no other industry do we have a billing system like we have in medical. Imagine if you were to go on an airline flight to another state, and when you got back from your flight, you got one bill from the check-in counter, you got one bill from the pilot of the plane, you got another bill from his co-pilot, and you got another bill from the stewardess, and you got another bill from the baggage claim handler, right? No other industry puts up with that shit. But that's the way it works in the medical industry. When you go to get a claim, you get billed from all these different people, and each one of those bill portions are handled separately and have different rules and different laws for what is and isn't going to get claimed. We put up with that from no other industry. Nor do we put up with any of these nonsense things in any other industry, like if you're buying a certain car brand in Pennsylvania, it costs $4,000 more than the same car in the state over from it in New York or something like that. Or if you work for employer A, the cost of that car is different than if you work for employer B, and that the price of your car changes depending on who you work for. No other industry works this way. Our healthcare system is freaking broken, and everyone knows it. and it's boiling to a head. So those are the key takeaways, I think, from today. Brian Kohberger, briefly, I wanted to mention, I've gotten a little flack from, I don't know if it's just that people don't understand how TikTok works, but like I was making videos on TikTok about Brian Kohberger and about the defense motion to toss out certain pieces of evidence due to DNA conflicts, whether or not searches were conducted legally, and the judge Hippler finally ruled on it and said, no, none of that's being tossed out. And then I'm getting people on my videos saying, you're a freaking moron. This was denied, so you're wrong. And I'm like, I wasn't wrong 2 weeks ago when I made that video. They just got ruled on. So either you don't understand how TikTok works and it serves up videos to you back when I was saying we're waiting for the judge to rule on this and he hasn't ruled on it yet. And then he rules on it and now people are calling me an idiot because you're wrong. It's been tossed out. You're just wrong. I'm like, I'm not wrong. I told you it was being reviewed when it was being reviewed. So understand, I hope everybody understands how TikTok works. It serves up videos that have been made a long time ago. So I guess that's just part of, you need to have a thick skin when you're doing audios because it's frustrating, and it shouldn't be, when people are yelling at me about how wrong I am about something on a video that was 2 weeks old, and at the time it was made, it was accurate, but now of course we know differently and it's not a big deal. So, alrighty then. I am now at the ability to start reading comments. Thanks again for the viewers who have stayed with us this long. If you're ready to check out because I've gone through my review, keep in mind I do repost this video on YouTube a couple hours after the live is done. I also link to that YouTube video on the front page of my website, devilsadvocates.info. Now I'm going to start reading comments. If somebody wants to come up and take the mic and talk publicly about their view of what happened today, specifically with Luigi or even Brian Kohberger or anything like that, we can do that as well. Probably the more interesting thing for people today is Luigi with that court case just happening. They should see the date in the comments. Right, I know. People should be able to see when the video is made, but I don't know. Thank you for the support for the person that said that they love my lives. I appreciate that so much. It means a lot. I have for the longest time not had anybody give a shit what I have to say about anything, so it's nice to hear that somebody cares what I have to say and what my take is on the matter. Seeing all the women in the hallway made me feel more sad for him. It felt superficial. Yeah, I get that. It wasn't just women, though. It's funny that you mention it because I was looking at the crowd, too, and trying to decide, is this all just a bunch of women in the audience? But I saw quite a few guys, so I don't know, but was there a preponderance of women? Probably. Certainly the voices you heard chanting and stuff like that were mostly female, it seemed. You feel like not much happened today? I agree and I disagree. Yes, it was a short court hearing, but again, the bombshells that I feel like Karen really let out some bombshells. The nature in which the federal government is supervising Luigi and getting in the way of his proper defense in the state case, the fact that they haven't seen proper discovery and that documentaries are talking about things that still haven't been turned over in discovery, the fact that Karen Agnifilo still has not seen the body cam footage of the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania, those are humongous things. It doesn't have to be long to be huge. Wait a minute. Anyways, so yeah, I think it was big news. And you're welcome for my take on it. Thank you for giving a rip about my take. I appreciate that. And thank you for the gifts. For those who are leaving gifts, thank you for the 10,000 likes that people have helped out. Thank you for the 50-something people that have stayed around to listen to my rambles. Every time we do this, it feels like we're getting a little bit better. We're getting a little bit more participation. We're getting a little bit more of a community going. Do you think the green sweater was on purpose? Today? I don't know. No, I don't have a thought about that, really. None of the police reports that she said she hasn't gone through either. Let's see, the judge is harsh. Just wondering if you have seen a change in the healthcare system since this happened. I've seen a little bit of a change in the healthcare system. I did this anecdotally, but again, I bring this up over and over again, that Blue Cross was in the process of listing saying that they were going to have a new policy that limits the amount of time an anesthesiologist can pay or can be paid for their time during a surgery. And they were going to do it kind of like a like a automobile type thing. If you're getting this surgery done, the anesthesiologist gets 4 hours time period. And if it goes past that, because there's complications, that Blue Cross was going to stop covering the time for the anesthesiologist after a certain capped number of hours. They changed that tune right after the shooting of Brian Thompson. I think personally that was a direct result of that. That they were like, super bad timing for us to say that we're going to start capping the amount of time that an anesthesiologist can charge for their services. We've decided to rethink that. I think that was a direct result. I've also anecdotally shared that my wife had gotten called about somebody wanting to reject, an insurance company wanting to reject a claim that was paid years ago and reverse their decision. And when she said, "Are you calling me to try and reverse what you already paid?" And they were like, "Oh, no, we're not trying to do it." And they were like in a huge panic and super apologetic and super courteous and super sweet. And no, we're just trying to make sure all of our documentation is correct. We're not trying to deny your claim. So anecdotally, I would say that I've seen the health insurance industry maybe show they're a little bit more nervous about people freaking out over denials of claims. So yeah, I think some things have started to change anecdotally. Blue Cross Blue Shield trying to implement that again when the public's attention is somewhere else. Yeah, they will probably try it again. You're right. When everything dies down and it's not going to get them. I'm not going to say the word. What would be a legitimate reason to not provide the notebook? All there is no legit. I'll tell you, in the conspiracy theory world that I have lived in my life, in my opinion, when the prosecution, especially the federal government and whatever, are delaying in their turning over of evidence, it usually means, in my opinion, that information was obtained illegally, and they're trying to cover their tracks so that it doesn't come out where that information came from. So they may have, for example, in their zeal and in their zealousness, let me rethink about bringing you onto this live for just a second. So in their zealousness to get a guy, they may cut corners. And then when it comes out later on that they have to explain how they got there, they're like, oh shit, how do we cover up that that's where we got it from? And so what they do is they look for another way they could have got the same information to say, oh, this is how we really got that information, and ignore where they got the illegal piece of information. So that is one reason why I believe prosecution will delay handing over discovery, because they know that the discovery has a problem. So what they're doing is they're trying to find another way to make the same conclusion that is far more legal. That way they don't have to explain that they obtained a connection illegally. So, but that's just a theory. Now the individual that wanted to come live, I'm willing to give it a shot, I guess. Let's give it a shot. Let's see. Oh, can I find it? Oh, did I? You may have to send an invite again. I usually don't bring a total stranger on to a live with me, but I got 20 minutes. As long as you don't get me kicked off the air, we'll be okay. Stranger danger. That's the way I feel. Like I guess I should be nervous. Yeah, I love all of us trying to be open-minded about this and see it from multiple points of view, which is why I took a little. I asked us on the last documentary to just assume, for the sake of argument for the night, that the things that they're saying are true. I don't know if they are, but let's assume for a moment that they are true. And if they are true, does that change how we would feel about things? Because we should be looking at this from multiple perspectives to be intellectually honest with the discussion. And as a prosecutor, as a former prosecutor, Karen Agnifilo knows all the tricks. Right. So, any other comments, questions? Anybody want to come up with me? It looks like I've got some regulars. I got Lady Capulet and Character Analysis, Just Curious. Not watching the live, so Just Curious is not here anymore. But we've got a Lady and Character who are in the wings. Now this says, Yeah, sure. Let's do this.
Hi.
Good evening.
I see a lot of people freaking out about today, and people should not be freaking out yet because similar stuff happened with Idaho, where Ann Taylor was saying, "Oh, why don't I have discovery? Why don't I have it? Why don't I have it?" This is a stall tactic. This is something that the prosecution does. People need to understand they do not want this to go to trial. They don't. So they're going to do everything they can to make it as difficult as possible. And she knows this dance, which is why when she does, she's very, very savvy. She'll get in front of that microphone. She'll say, ha, he's on HBO. He's got his makeup on and he's doing all this stuff. How does he have this? And I don't even have it. And what about this search and seizure problem? And it's done to turn the screws on NYPD.
Right.
So people need to understand this is a dance and that this is very, very common. It doesn't necessarily mean like anything negative. If anything, the fact that she put that website, and that's why she put the website up, because she's kind of fighting back. She wants transparency. She wants everything out there. And that is very threatening to them.
Yeah. So somebody just asked the question, when do they have to, like in all caps, when do they have to finish discovery? So here's the complex question. I'm not a lawyer. So this is armchair true crime guy for decades. This is the way I understand it. If the defense exercises their right by our Constitution to a speedy trial, that date has already passed of when they have to have it presented. She could have said, there is a right to a speedy trial and it needs to be done by that date, and they missed it. Now, she can agree to waive, and Luigi, by extension of his law defense, can agree to waive his right to a speedy trial, which is what they have essentially done. They have waived the right to a speedy trial to allow the prosecution to have more time. And kind of along the lines of what character is saying, although I don't know if she would agree with the way I'm going to word this, is that in itself is a bit of a dance. In other words, if giving them extra time doesn't really hurt the defense at all, it looks like a good, gracious thing on behalf of the defense. It looks like, hey, we're doing everything we can to give you all your time to get your ducks in a row, and you still can't get your shit together. It makes them look bad if I'm acquiescing to your demands of more time when I could be saying, no, you got to come up with it right now, because it almost looks, and again, I'm going on a bit of a rant, it almost looks like you're desperate to force them to rush if you say, you don't get to have time. You got to come up with it right now, which is what they did in O.J. Simpson's case. O.J.'s lawyers said, there is no delaying of this case. He has a right to a speedy trial and you will get your shit together right now. And that led to mistakes. So I'm curious a little bit why she didn't go that way. But like characters are saying, it could also be, and again, I don't know if this is what your take is, and I'll let you talk in a moment for yourself. Part of the dance, right? Part of the I'm going to let it look like I'm bending over backwards to give you guys what you guys need, and you still can't come up with the answer.
That's what I think she's doing.
Yeah.
That's what I think she's doing. She's going to make it seem like, hey, listen, we're giving you everything you want. We're being patient. Oh, you need a delay? Great, we'll give it to you. She's going to prove anything she can. Right? Yeah. And if they keep stalling, they're going to look bad. They're going to look really bad.
I agree. I don't want to step on you, but I got another comment that somebody said that just brought up something to my head. I have stated, and I know character doesn't go with this, so bear with me, character analysis, and don't destroy me here. But I have maintained the possibility of more than one person involved. One of the interesting things that came out of the documentary was the wording that said, at this time, we believe Luigi Mangione acted alone, which was a slight shift in their wording. At this time, we believe he acted alone. It indicates to me that either there was a time in which they weren't sure he acted alone, or they are looking still into the possibility that he didn't act alone, but at this time, they're still going with the lone gunman theory. This also could potentially explain why the prosecution wants a little bit more time. If they think there's another potential perpetrator out there, they're trying to decide, do we go all in on the lone gunman theory, or can we get any proof of another suspect that we think's involved before we slam the case down and say we're going for the lone gunman theory? So again, that's reading a lot into something. But the wording was interesting to me when they said, at this time, we think he acted alone.
Well, in the beginning, I believe right after he was arrested, they said the same thing. I believe at the press conference. However, she might be thinking, hey, are they thinking that somebody else? Do they have somebody else out there? So again, it benefits her to give them more time. Right.
Right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Go ahead.
But yeah, like, and it should be pointed out for those who are interested in the possibility that there was more than one person involved, that the federal government admitted, I think it might have been NYPD, but or it might have been the feds, I'm not sure, said that they were tracking a dead ringer for the suspect for 3 days. And it turned out that they ended up having to let it go because he had an airtight alibi. So they were looking into somebody else for days. That was a dead ringer for the shooter, they said. And they had to let him go because there was an airtight alibi in that case.
That was, I really think I said this to you earlier. I think he used the surveillance cameras. I think he used them, whoever the suspect is. I think, or whoever people believe it is, obviously, like I've made my standing clear, but whatever. I think they use the surveillance and the CCTV to their advantage, because what happened when all those pictures first came out? To this day, people are still saying that's not the same person.
Right.
That's intentional. It was intentional to keep people guessing, keep police guessing. Part of the reason why they probably went after the wrong person is because of those pictures.
Right.
Like, he stood right in front of these cameras.
Right.
Multiple times at different angles. Right? Like, I think he knew what he was doing. To throw them off.
And I want to say this, because I know that you have a slightly different take about this, and I really appreciate that when you're on my lives, you're super respectful to me, and we are respectful to each other on our differences of opinions. One of the things I did want to point out about that, because I know it goes a little against how you feel about it, maybe, or I shouldn't say I know maybe, but anyways, the point being is that a lot of people make a big thing out of the 6 months that Luigi went dark, right? And one of the things that I pointed out was, let's go with the idea that he's a lone gunman, but let's also go with the idea that he purposely positioned things for cameras and stuff to get picked up, and red herrings like the Monopoly money and the Pokemon thing. Maybe there was a lot of planning and forethought that went into the event to create confusion, so that when it came to this point in the trial, there would be all this confusion about what really happened. So in other words, where I'm going with this is, one person might say him going dark was, a mental crisis. He's somewhere in dark depression and he emerges with a last minute thought to go pull this off. Or he went for 6 months and he planned out meticulously how he was going to throw off law enforcement, how he was going to lead them down the wrong thing, how he was going to plant lookalikes, how he was going to do all this stuff like that. So even if it was one person and there was no other person involved, was that period of darkness a thoughtful planning out of playing a game? Because again, there's the game theory, right? Of trying to find a way of interjecting false evidence, misleads, red herrings, misdirections, so that it could be pulled off.
Not just that, because everybody wondered, why did he go all the way up to 178th to the bus terminal and then go to 190th for the subway? Like, why did he go from the bus terminal to the subway? He was putting himself out there and in as many places as he could to jam the system, to keep them like, well, wait, he's here. Well, wait, he's here. But also, I mean, look at how many things in this case where they were like, he took a bus out of the city. No, he didn't. He took a train. Oh, we thought it was this person. No, it wasn't. It's somebody else.
Right.
Like all these little things that are A, jamming up the system, but B, making them look stupid
Right.
and putting their credibility into question. The
Right.
investigation to me has always stunk. Always stunk.
And so this is where I'm going, after thinking about this for all this time, one of the things I'm going with is there's still for me multiple. I'm open-minded. I want to be intellectually honest with this. There is still for me the possibility that Luigi Mangione is a lone gunman. But it also leaves the possibility that as the lone gunman, he took steps to try to get away with it by presenting reasonable doubt, by throwing in different things that would get confusing and make law enforcement make a mistake somewhere that's going to basically screw their case. There's also the possibility in my mind that this is a how to blow up a pipeline situation, that a group of individuals got together and conspired together and did lookalikes and did misdirections and led law enforcement in the wrong direction so that the person who ended up taking the fall for it would let the other conspirators get free. So maybe they can do it again. We don't know that that's not a possibility. All of these things are possible. And it's possible, to be fair, that Luigi just got overwhelmed by the injustices in America and decided that he was going to do something about it and doesn't care that he's going to go to jail for the rest of his life and possibly be executed for it. All those things are possible in my mind. To be intellectually honest with ourselves, we have to keep our mind open to all of those. And as new information gets presented, we go, okay, does this rule out multiple conspirators? Does this rule out that he was trying to get away with it? Does it rule out? And just keep asking those questions until you narrowed it down to this is the case that makes the most sense.
Somebody asked, what do they say? I still don't understand the careful placement of the kind bar wrapper. Not only the careful placement, but the careful placement right in front of a camera, right? Little things like that. The police are going to be running there. Go find it. What can you find? Show me what you have. I think it was done to like keep them jumping around.
Yeah, it's so funny because we've talked about this, you and I, one time before too, about the carefully placed right in front of a camera thing. I'm really big on, I don't think that was a mistake. I think that was done on purpose. I think he wanted law enforcement, the shooter, not necessarily Luigi, the suspect, wanted law enforcement to see that piece of evidence being placed there and wanted it caught on camera. I've got a friend who tells me, man, I hate to say this, but you're just flat out wrong. The guy didn't know there was a camera there. You using the word carefully placed is you trying to prejudice people. He just put some trash down. It was a simple mistake on his part, and you really are making a mountain out of a molehill just to have something to talk about. And I'm like, no, like I really don't believe that was a mistake. Like I'm not just talking to try to get some likes and some hits. I literally think that looks staged, in my opinion. But
even when he was on the phone, right?
Yeah,
he's on the phone. He walks right past the camera.
right.
While he's on the phone. And didn't they say that he left the phone behind? Didn't they say that he like disposed? That's how they worded it.
Yeah,
so
he supposedly dropped the phone in the alleyway, didn't he? Supposedly in that walkway between. Yeah.
Well, the way they phrased it was almost like he intentionally left it behind.
Yeah.
Like, right? So he's on the camera. He's on camera on the phone right when he passes by the camera. And what people aren't getting is when he was walking up 55th Street and placed the thing on the garbage. So that was before the little quote unquote alleyway plaza, right? So he could have and probably did, because it looked like he was veering in that direction. He could have crossed through from 55th to 54th. But if he had done that, he would have been pretty close to the hotel. But when he's on the phone, that camera is 175 feet away from the hotel. So he either went all the way up 55th Street and around and down 54th Street, or he cut through that plaza and then walked up 54th Street and then walked back. Now, he could have just been pacing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Either way, he was caught on camera on the phone, I think, intentionally.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you say that, because it's just that phone call is what leads to the idea of conspirators. Now, again, could it be social engineering? Was he on a phone call trying to get information from inside the hotel that has nothing to do with the crime? Maybe, possibly. But I've always maintained that phone call is not him ordering a pizza, and it's not him taking a friend's call that was unexpectedly coming in. That phone call pertains in some way to that shooting. So who is he on the phone with? This is critical.
I believe it did too. I don't think it's a coincidence that 5 minutes after that phone call, well, what was that? 6:30. Okay, so he's on the phone at 6:30. He gets to the hotel 6:39, they said, like 5 minutes before. So again, what was he doing for 10 minutes? But also, that's 15 minutes before Thompson shows up.
Yeah.
Right? It's as he's walking towards the hotel. He gets there 5 minutes before, right?
Yeah.
5 minutes. That's not a coincidence.
I agree. And it's funny because the official story is trying to key in on he was there for an hour, walked around, sat on a park bench, trying to give the impression that he didn't have a precise timing and was just there luckily when the timing was right. But then you look at those kind of things and you're like, no, he showed up like literally within 5 minutes of when Brian Thompson showed up. And there's so many weird questions. It's like the latest documentary came out where his former bodyguard is saying the fact that he had no security with him that day is the biggest lapse in security he's ever seen in his career. Like, I don't know what to make of that, because I don't know that Brian Thompson has bodyguards with him at all times, or that in that circumstance, he most certainly would have. But what we do have is a former bodyguard of Brian Thompson saying the fact that he had no bodyguard is the biggest lapse I've seen of security. Makes me wonder, is that true? Should he have had? And where the hell was his security detail then?
I hate to say this. I think it was as simple as he thought, it's just across the street.
Yeah, it could.
You know, it could. It's just across the street.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm just it's a question based purely on that former bodyguard's thing, that saying that he thought that he should have had security with him that day. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. And so when somebody gets shot, you're like, well, how the hell did he not have security with him? Like, well, maybe there's a lot of times you don't have security with you, and we don't really think about it until something happens. And you're like, well, where the hell was the security? So,
how did he know he was staying at the other hotel? I think that's where the social engineering came in. I think somehow he got in touch with somebody, like posed as somebody, and got the information. You know.
So yeah, there's a lot of questions that we still, in my mind, we still have on this. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, did you watch the press conference in detail? You did, right? From Karen. Did you have any different takeaways from what I said about the things that she said?
I could feel her frustration. But I also think that, like, I agreed with you all the points that you made. I also think, and this is just my personal opinion, having all of those people in the hallway and in the courtroom, I think it's causing a lot of logistical and security issues, which could be why he had the vest on. They wouldn't unshackle him. She had a hard time getting to him before, because I think they had to reroute, right? Because that hallway was packed.
And real quick before I just brought Lady Capulet up with this on the live. Before I greet you officially, I want to bring up another point. It was interesting posturing. I don't know if posturing is the right word, but Karen Agnifilo made a point to march up to the people inside the courthouse who are lining up for it to address them, and got cheered for acknowledging them. It's like she's recognizing that these people are here to show support for her defendant, and she went up and addressed them basically and gave them some one-on-one FaceTime, which I thought was very interesting.
She knows that, like, they're going to be what helps his case, in the sense of, I think what she's going to argue is, look at this groundswell of support.
Yeah.
Because this resonated with so many people. What does it say that so many people want to see this man go free?
Yeah.
you
So
know?
yeah, I agree, and I think she's just smart and she knows how to play to the
Hmm.
public and to the cameras. And so, Lady Capulet, I know you went muted for a second there, but I invited you up. I saw that you were there, and I just wanted to see if you're still listening and if you wanted to say a few words.
Hey,
Hey,
thanks for letting me up. I forgot what I wanted to say. It was
I'm
a
so
while
sorry.
back. It's okay. It's okay. Today was hard. I will say that. Um, it was just hard overall, I think, for everybody.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. That's it. I forgot. I did have a point, but it was a while back, which is
I
fine.
know. I feel bad because I was in the
It's
middle of a
okay.
rant, and so yeah. Well, if you remember it, you can hang out, and then when it comes up to you, try to interrupt me.
Okay.
So, anyways, those are my initial thoughts from today's hearing for Luigi Mangione. I'm trying to remember because I don't have my notes in front of me. Is the Pennsylvania case the next that's on the docket? Is that the next date that we are going to see something?
Didn't she say that the Department of Justice is preventing something to do with the Pennsylvania case?
Yeah, they think they were not allowing Luigi to be present in Pennsylvania for his case there. I believe. I think.
Yeah,
Is that
that
Yeah, they're
confused
gonna.
me, I will say. I need a lawyer to talk about that because Karen had only mentioned that they wouldn't transport him.
yeah.
So that was confusing to me because couldn't you start it via Zoom?
Right. And
I
so and
mean,
so
if you're that worried about security, the guy's in a bulletproof vest. Why are we transporting him to and from Pennsylvania for these beginning stages that are 2 seconds?
right. And the point and I think when the point that she said that was she was making the point that Luigi remains in federal custody even though the state goes first and even though he's facing charges in Pennsylvania, the federal government is keeping him in custody and deciding where he
Yeah.
gets to go and where he doesn't get to go.
Right. And the federal system is far more difficult to get meetings with your client, privacy, all of that stuff for him to look over evidence, all that. Yeah. That was tough. It was all I just it was all tough today for me.
And part of it could be just posturing, I mean, to be fair, as much as I have my own feelings. It could have just been posturing on Karen's part to be like, man, they're not even letting us move Luigi around freely and see him freely without interfering with our right to defend him as part of the posturing of we are not able to give him a proper defense because the federal government is blocking our ability to properly meet with our client and give him a fair trial.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
It's going to make
yeah,
things difficult. Sorry.
huh?
That's going to make very difficult. That's going to make things really difficult for the state. For the prosecution and for NYPD because people are going to be like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like he's got these rights and you're infringing on his rights, and it's just going to make things really difficult for them.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think people should be worried yet.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of comments coming in and stuff down below as well, where people are very worried, very stressed, very whatever. And all I can say about that is what I've said last time on my live, which is that if you need to take breaks from this case, by all means do so. This is going to be a long haul. This is going to take a long time, and there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be moments where you feel like everything's going the way you want it to go, and then there's going to be moments where there's not. Keep in mind that if and when the trial actually happens, the prosecution is going to start, and they're going to take a long time to lay out their defense, while the defense basically allows them to just say whatever the hell they want to during opening arguments. And that's going to be painful for a lot of people. And then you're finally get your chance to hear the defense go, and you're going to be like, yeah, she just gave it to him. And that's still not even the start of the trial yet. That's just opening arguments. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs.
Did I hear correctly that her husband has withdrawn from the Diddy trial?
No,
No,
not the husband. It's someone
not
else.
yeah, not
Oh, it
her
is someone
husband.
else. Okay.
Yeah, but it was super interesting. There was an attorney, not her husband. I thought that was the first thing I thought too. Is like, oh my God, did her husband just drop out? No, her husband is still lead counsel as far as I can understand for Diddy. But one of the like 5 or 6 lawyers asked to basically be dismissed from it because he said, I absolutely 100% can no longer in good conscience continue on. And he didn't want to elaborate on why, because it would prejudice the trial, right? Which is like, screw this guy, my client's guilty. I'm not defending that MFer, which is probably what he wanted to say. But instead he's like, there is no way in hell I can continue to defend this guy. I want off the case immediately, which is bad because it makes it look like even his own lawyers want to abandon him. So anyways, that was a side tangent. But it wasn't Mark Agnifilo. Uh-oh, we're so silent. Am I all alone?
No, I know Lady Cap. This is today really, really hit her hard, and I feel bad. I mean, I think this is one of the benefits of kind of already being in that place of thinking, yeah, he did it, but I support him anyway. Like that's one of the
Yeah.
benefits is that stuff like this doesn't hit you as hard because it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that she can't get the backpack thrown out. It doesn't mean a lot of different stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I that's a good point. Like, let's not address, I'm not going to address any particular thing, but you're right. Like, there are people who are very emotionally invested in one way or another, right? And the truth of the matter may be really complicated at the end of the day. So it's going to put a lot of emotions on everyone. Because, like, again, I've got somebody that I'm very, very close with, and their opinion is, to be frank, their opinion is, I hope he did do it, and I hope he walks. Because what bigger statement will this make in America that we're tired of this bullshit than, yeah, he did it, and we're going to let him walk because you guys have been murdering people for a long time and getting away with it in the name of whitewashing it and blame shifting and acting like you're not responsible. So you had it coming. There are people who feel that way. And then there are people who feel like he's 100% innocent and he's being framed, and it makes them lose sleep at night because an innocent guy is going to jail. There's going to be emotions all over the place with this thing.
That,
Yeah. For me, it's a combo of I don't know. I've never posted anything until this week, and the second I started doing it, I got weird, cruel DMs and just stuff happening, and then all this suppression of videos from TikTok. I'm almost banned. I keep getting strikes. My videos aren't even I just don't get it. So it was a combo of that, and then just other creators making stuff up, pretending they have information they don't, connections they don't, and
So
it's just like everything swirling with this weird negativity. And then he walked in today, and it just looked like, oh my God, everybody's like getting lost in everything but him and
but
a message we should be focusing on.
right, but he is the. This was my very first video about, like, it was a couple days after the arrest, and I was definitely like, nope, there was a decoy, and there was this and this and this, and then after a couple days, and I was like, I don't know, but I made a video and said, believe it or not, if the system is to be put on trial, which is what I think she's going to do, he is the best. He's the best. I don't know. I don't know if candidate's the right person. That's who you want. You don't want somebody who was a disgruntled former, client or subscriber. You want someone who's privileged. You want someone who's educated. You want someone with a pedigree because it says, listen, this doesn't affect me personally, but I still care about this.
Right.
Right? This is who, if the goal is to put this system on trial, that's who we want.
Well, and I mean, I agree with what you just said. Having said that, I'm a cynic. And one of the things I said early on was there is no way in hell the federal government or the state of New York is going to allow this to be the healthcare system being put on trial in America. This is why they're going to block cameras in the courtroom. This is why because they are not going to, they're going to repeatedly remind you the healthcare system's not on trial here. Luigi Mangione is for cowardly shooting a man in the back when he wasn't looking, that had no responsibility directly for denying claims. He's a coward, and this is about that man, and he needs to pay for what he did. And they were not going to allow this to be a discussion about the healthcare system, because they will repeat over and over in court, the healthcare system's not on trial here. But that is exactly what I think Karen Agnifilo and her team are going to try to do, is make this about, and I'll wrap up one thought about this. It's the same kind of tactic. I want to be careful. I hate race issues, but it's the same kind of tactic when the O.J. Simpson team said, this isn't about whether or not O.J. killed somebody. This is about a corrupt police system trying to frame a black man for a crime again, and letting white officers walk free all the time. They changed the narrative to what was on trial, and we, quote unquote, let that happen. It became a trial about race. It became a trial about police corruption, and not about O.J. Simpson. And this is the same kind of thing I see playing out here, is that there's a defense tactic of making this be about the healthcare system and putting the healthcare system on trial, and they're going to do everything they can to make this about Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
Can we go back to Norma Carolina? Lady Capulet, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Well, no, because I don't want you to forget.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
go
want
ahead.
you to forget. So Norma Carolina says, can we talk about the support? Can it be more organized and succinct?
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
That's what was upsetting today, this week, everything. Like the weird infighting that goes on among supporters, the creators that are full of hate and attacking other creators, and lawyers with 40 years of pedigree behind them, the anger, the threats of lawsuits, the threats of outing people and who they are and where they live. It's insane. And the amount of people that follow them and think that's okay behavior is absolutely terrifying. It's just such bizarre behavior, and that's also just deflated me today, this week. I just don't get it. And it's so divisive, and we're also going up against mainstream media that's doing everything to make him a monster and not talk about healthcare. And then there's infighting among supporters and people.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, and this is what sucks. My platform's too small to make a change. But this is why I said I really want to have this like book club idea of us reading that book, An American Sickness by Rosenthal, that was supposedly mentioned by Luigi, and stuff like that, because that is the discussion I think we need to have, is we do need to put the healthcare system on trial. And if the court system's not going to do it, and they're not going to put cameras in there and let us see the healthcare, then it's up to us. It is up to us to put the healthcare system on trial. And so we need to be, in my opinion, my soapbox, as people, we need to start saying, let's have that discussion about the healthcare system. Why would this kind of shit happen? Why would somebody if that's what happened, get so upset at the healthcare system they're willing to shoot somebody over it? Is it that bad? Let's talk about it. Because that's the conversation that is getting lost, I think.
The other aspect of the support, I was saying in the comments, I think the protests outside are fantastic, but I think all of the supporters in the hallway, in the courtroom, I think people need to remember that you're potentially taking up spaces that could be used by people with very large platforms, or journalists or podcasters who could get in there and who could really use their platform to shine a light on anything that's infringing on his rights, just talking about the case. And honestly, I don't think it helps him. I think it makes things difficult at the courthouse, and which immediately is going to piss people off, and that's going to thereby make things harder for him, thereby make things harder for Karen. And I think, I think all the people in the courthouse might be a problem.
I want to. I want
I
to.
agree. It's frustrating. You and I talked about that today. Why we don't need 15 women taking up, sorry if that's offensive, taking up the seats of unbiased podcasters and independent journalists, because the majority of the press that gets in are mainstream media. And so, like, fangirling and showing up at 2 a.m. and standing in line is not helping. It's not really support. Nobody's seeing the 15 women. And the angle that I was watching, I had 3 or 4 live streams going, and I saw when they chose the women that were going to go in from this crazy line in the hallway. I had the direct angle of all of them walking in. And it was just like, none of them are going to give us any sort of feedback or make the supporters look good.
Yeah,
it doesn't help anything.
Let me interject because I want to tell a story that hits home. I realize this story may not be something people are familiar with, but there was a cold case that was broke by a podcaster. It was called Your Own Backyard about Kristen Smart.
Oh,
right?
My talented podcaster. Everybody watch it now.
Right.
It's incredible.
It is my belief, it's my firm conviction that Chris, who ran Your Own Backyard, blew that cold case wide open, and he led to the conviction of Paul. It was that podcast that convicted that man after 20 years of law enforcement fumbling that case. But where I was going to go with that, because I'm a softie, is there was a moment where Chris showed up to try to cover the trial when the trials began, and there was a news agency that had like 2 seats for their news agency, and they saw Chris, the podcaster, and said, "We're going to give up one of our reporters' seats so you can be front and center." I was like, "Oh my God, that was amazing! It was so cool."
Yeah,
Chris was an amazing podcaster, and he broke that case wide open, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's who should have. I mean, 15 seats is not a lot. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We don't need. You can show up and stand outside the courthouse and give support. You don't need to be behind 70 people trying to get a view of him. We all think he's adorable. We're all watching all of this stuff. Like, I know that it's just stupid to complain about because it's never going to happen. But we need the unbiased reporters being pushed through and the unbiased people being interviewed. And I don't know. Today I feel flustered, and this whole week the supporters just feel so negative to me. And there's just so much bizarreness. People taking credit and saying they have connections that don't exist. It's like, what are you doing? This guy's facing a death sentence. This is not a game. Stop making this about you.
Yeah.
And your hatred and your lying. It's so weird.
And the press is, the New York Post, and they're going to go, "Oh, look at all the sick supporters," and they use like a lot of alliteration. They're going to do that intentionally, right? So better to organize it in a way where you look like supporters of healthcare reform rather than supporters of him. Like, I understand you want to support him, but what's going to send a better message, right? Like, we're here for healthcare reform, not, we're here for Lulu, because it's just going to make things it's going to make people not take it seriously.
Well, It already has, and then it's created a fever pitch so that any single person that says anything slight or considers, like you, character analysis, and the second I started joining your lives, all of the hate that was getting tossed my way when I didn't even have content up yet at a couple weeks ago, and the DMs and certain creators sending all of his followers to try and find out who I was and where I lived to come after me was insane, because I did a couple lives with you, and I'm still on the fence with his participation, player 1, player 2, all of it. We can't be grown adults, educated grown adults. I have 3 degrees. I can't sit here and look at this with nuance and intelligence. I want him to walk free. I donate every single week like clockwork at the same time. I am supporting him, but I'm also intelligent enough to understand the implications of blindly thinking he wasn't there. That he wasn't there in some capacity. And we're doing him a disservice we're doing him a disservice. That's what hurt me today at the most. Like, I was so riled up, and the second he walked out, I was just like, ugh.
Well, I feel, I mean, to defend myself, I do feel that I'm making an attempt to try to keep the dialogue open about other issues and not make it about the meme, about the man, and about the mission and stuff like that. So that's what I'm attempting to do as well. And I agree with you that we need to be able to have voices, to have dissenting opinions and talk like adults and be able to disagree with each other and let public sit in on these conversations and listen and form their own opinions. One of the things, I'm going to side tangent and I don't mean to, but one of the things that I keep trying to figure out is why certain accounts are getting banned, they say, for just mentioning the name. I haven't had a community violation for the longest time. Is it because I'm so small? I don't know. Because there's people who are content providers that are smaller than my following, and they say that anytime they mention the name Luigi Mangione, they're banned. I don't get it, because I just said Luigi Mangione. I said murder. I said shooting. I said, all these things. I say it all the time. I don't know what's going on with the algorithm. My guess is, to go back real quickly to something you said, there's a group of people who are really good at going to TikTok and reporting people they don't like. And TikTok's knee-jerk reaction on a group of people who are doing that and banning people and then going and investigating later. And I guess I just maybe haven't gotten their attention yet. So maybe it's just a small group of people who are shutting everybody down because they're reporting everybody. I don't know.
But that's kind of where I'm going. There's one creator in particular that's been doing it, that's threatening the lawsuits and gone off the rails.
And
he's done it to several people. And it's insane that... I mean, every single thing I've tried to post, I had 4 videos to do. I've only posted 2 of them. Every one I've gotten a notice that it's banned. I won't ever be on the For You page. Like, I've taken screenshots every time, but immediately my one today or yesterday said this will take 12 days to review.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what?
Like, I don't know what the answer to that is. Again, my only thinking is I've been kind of poking the bear with TikTok. I don't know if you saw my video today where I stitched David Betris, who couldn't say the word murder, couldn't say the word terrorist enhancement, and couldn't say Luigi, and kept saying that Mark Rosario was in court today. And so I kind of I poked the bear. It's like, dude, it's not because you say Luigi Mangione or murder or terrorism. So it's something else. Like, why can't we be adults? We don't have to keep acting like
because there's dozens of people that have been told to go and attack that lawyer with 40 years of lawyering under his belt, who's doing nothing but trying to give us a legal analysis that none of us have the education to give.
Yeah.
And that is why. And it's absurd that people would listen and then go do that.
And so my point to all that is that I want to believe that TikTok is going to not just ban everybody that a certain creator and his followers are going after. But if that's the way it's going to be, I don't want to be here anyways. But I do want to stay here because I think TikTok has a platform that is unlike any other. But it's going to be frustrating if a small handful of people can control the narrative on TikTok because they don't have people who are bright enough to realize that a small group of people are controlling the narrative. So where I'm going with that on my pitch, we will wrap up pretty soon, by the way, is just, again, I'm trying to make TikTok work. I'm purposely pushing poking the bear of TikTok and saying all the words that I'm told I can't say until they prove otherwise. And because if we can't talk like adults, then this isn't the platform for us. Unfortunately, this is the only platform I have a following on. YouTube's got a pretty good start, right? YouTube have got 100 people watching some videos on YouTube and thousands of watch hour kind of stuff, but it's like hard to get that going. So all I will say for my own self is, if I get kicked off of TikTok one day, I will make an attempt to have a backup account to say goodbyes, but that'll be like proof in the pudding that we can't have free speech on TikTok. And I'm careful about how I word things, despite using all the no words. But you can, as again, one last plug for myself, our website's deviladvocates.info. We post to YouTube. These lives always go up 2 hours after the recorded lives. So if you missed any part of this show, you can go get the full recording of that. So that's my plug for if I get shut down and you care about what I have to say, you can go find me somewhere else, but I'm still small fish. Anyways, any other thoughts you guys have before closing tonight?
Yeah, I have one. I went into a live tonight, and the creator was talking something about the ballistics, and she said the ballistics don't match. And I wrote a comment and I said, we don't know that yet. Oh, well, no, you come in here hot. And she's like, she's buddy buddy with the one that Lady Capulet's talking about. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. I won't say names.
Yeah.
No, I'm a journalist. I got the report. Listen, she's saying she has the ballistic information. He's saying he's got the notebook. I can't tell you how dangerous that is to this case.
I know.
It's incredibly dangerous to say that you're getting stuff leaked. Incredibly dangerous.
And I don't understand why that's still tolerated. I know that one of those individuals got their account kicked off. That's one of the other flaws of TikTok is that you can get kicked off and then the next 5 minutes later you come back with another account and get half your following back. So I don't know.
But also the stuff about the cousin, and she's talking about how they were gay lovers, or like Michael and Brian were gay lovers. And listen.
Oh, God.
When people talk about why this cousin has scrubbed all his stuff from the internet, it's because he's being harassed. Right. We saw this with Idaho.
Yeah.
Where people had to scrub everything from the internet because they were being so badly harassed that they were being threatened. And it's because of stuff like this. Yeah. So when people start saying, I have this, I have an insider, nobody has an inside track to any of this. No one is going to a TikToker and saying, hey, I've got inside information. They're not doing that.
And the fake emails,
Well, if they are doing that, you need to direct them to say, give this to law enforcement. I don't want it. Give it to law enforcement. Because that stuff is dangerous to the case.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and it's just dangerous to the overall supporters banding together and trying to not look like absolute lunatics.
Yeah.
But instead, it's just this environment of insanity. Where people have also chosen to not cover it. Like there's plenty of true crimers that are like, I'm not even going to cover it because of, and have directly pointed to a few people that are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and this is the difficulty is, in my opinion, individuals who are claiming to have direct access to Karen's team and also that kind of stuff, I want to say the vast majority of people can figure out that can't even remotely be possibly true. But if
there's people in this live right now that follow that account and are on every live praising him.
I get it.
There's a lot in here.
It's scary. It's
absolutely scary.
Yeah, it is scary. But
that are, the guy's on parole and lives with his mom.
Yeah.
And owes $5 million for unbelievable damage he did to regular middle-class people who lost everything.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there listening. Go read the court docs on him. Don't listen to him. It's chilling, actually.
I agree, and I agree, and I also think we shouldn't spend as much time on him because to me it's not worth spending the amount of time that we're spending on it. Like if for those who are in that camp, they're not going to be persuaded that he's not what he says, and so I try not to spend so much energy on him. I'm not saying that you're wrong too, because I agree with everything you're saying. It's just that when I first saw that kind of thing, I thought I'm just going to stay a million miles away from that. So anyways, it is what it is.
Just the best thing for people to do when they hear anybody saying stuff like that is to push back and say, this could hurt the case.
Yeah.
This could hurt the case. If you care about Luigi, if you care about healthcare reform, please don't do this because this could hurt the case.
Exactly.
Just push back.
So on that lines, I want to wrap up for tonight. I know I had one person said in the account, let's move on, guys. And I agree. We're kind of got off on this whole tangent of a small handful of bad actors and so like that. So let's end on this thought tonight. I super appreciate the people who come into my lives to hear my take on today's court appearance. I, again, appreciate my guest character analysis and Lady Capulet for coming on and sharing thoughts. We are always respectful of each other's differences of opinions. I know that some people don't agree with me or her or whatever, and that's great. The fact that you're here listening to all sides means a lot to me and probably to you guys as well. So thank you everyone for coming. As a reminder, this live will be recorded or is recorded and will be posted on YouTube in a couple hours, and also linked front page on my website, devilsadvocates.info. I will do my best to continue following this case and the Brian Koberger case, which is the trending cases that we're doing. And I hope you will check in again next Wednesday at my regular scheduled live, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or catch us on YouTube. And thank you guys, and have a great night tonight.
Thank guys.
Thank you.